The carnival gasped. Each night grew quieter. Fewer patrons braved the flickering gaslights and faded attractions. The Ferris wheel groaned, a skeletal silhouette against the dying sunset. Hope withered, but desperation bloomed, twisting into something monstrous in the shadows of the funhouse. It wore a painted grin and called itself Grimsley the Great. Grimsley, the tallest clown anyone had ever seen, towered over the dwindling crowds. He was a spectacle, all right, but not in the way the carnival owners had hoped. His presence was unsettling, his long limbs moving with a disjointed grace that spoke of something unnatural. His laughter, echoing across the fairgrounds, held a hollow, hungry note. The carnival folk, desperate to survive, embraced Grimsley's unsettling charisma. He drew crowds, albeit crowds that flinched at his touch, and whispered about the strange disappearances that seemed to follow the carnival like vultures on the wind. But as long as the money trickled in, they ignored the chills that ran down their spines whenever Grimsley was near. Grimsley's preparation for each performance was a ritual. He would lock himself in his wagon, the sound of frantic movement and muffled sobs escaping from within. The other carnies steered clear, their faces pale and lips sealed with a shared terror. They knew what lurked behind the wagon's flimsy walls, what transformed from the shell of a man into the nightmare they sold to the public. The air would grow thick, heavy with the stench of sweat, grease paint, and something sickly sweet, like overripe fruit. Then silence, broken only by the rhythmic thump of a brush against flesh. It was the sound of Grimsley applying his mask, each stroke a prayer to the darkness that fueled his twisted art. He would emerge an hour later, a grotesque caricature of joy. His face, a canvas of stark white, was stretched into an unnatural grin, the red paint around his mouth smeared as if hastily applied after a fresh kill. His eyes, glowing yellow and magnified by thick red rings, gleamed with an unsettling light, a mixture of madness and a chilling awareness that sent shivers down the spines of all who met his gaze. Grimsley would stalk the fairgrounds, his long limbs carrying him with an unsettling grace, his eyes scanning the crowd, searching, always searching, for the carnival needed to survive, and Grimsley, in his own twisted way, was determined to make sure it did. The disappearances started subtly, a lone traveler, lured by the promise of cheap thrills and flashing lights, never to be seen again. A giggling child, separated from her parents in the throng of a particularly lively performance, vanished without a trace. The local constabulary, jaded and overworked, dismissed the disappearances as unfortunate accidents or the work of drifters passing through. But the carnival folk knew better. They'd seen the way Grimsley's eyes glinted with a predatory hunger as he surveyed the crowd. They'd heard the muffled screams coming from his wagon late at night, followed by a silence more terrifying than any scream. They'd seen the new attractions added to the freak show, figures twisted and broken, their eyes filled with a hollow, haunted look that chilled them to the bone. One night, a young couple, bolder than the rest, decided to investigate. They'd heard the whispers, seen the fear in the eyes of the carnies, and were determined to get to the bottom of it. They snuck into Grimsley's wagon, expecting to find evidence of his crimes, perhaps a hidden cache of stolen goods or a makeshift dungeon where he kept his victims. What they found was far more horrifying. The wagon was empty, save for a single flickering lantern that cast long, grotesque shadows on the walls. The air was thick with the scent of grease paint, formaldehyde, and decay, and then they heard it, a low, guttural chuckle coming from the back of the wagon, where a heavy curtain concealed a dark alcove. As the couple inched closer, the chuckling grew louder, intermingled with a low, mournful moan that seemed to seep into their very bones. The young man, emboldened by a sense of morbid curiosity, reached out and pulled back the curtain. The scream that tore from his throat was cut short, replaced by a choked gasp of pure terror. The young woman, her heart pounding in her chest, peered over her companion's shoulder and fainted dead away. For there, bathed in the flickering lantern light, were the missing people from the town. But they were not alive, not anymore. They were puppets, their bodies twisted and broken, sewn together with crude stitches and animated by some unholy magic. Their eyes, wide with a mixture of pain and terror, stared vacantly ahead, their mouths frozen in silent screams. Grimsley was never caught. The carnival vanished that night, swallowed whole by the darkness, leaving behind only whispers and rumors. Some say Grimsley is still out there, traveling the back roads, his laughter echoing across the desolate highways. They say he's still searching, always searching, for new souls to fuel his twisted art, for new puppets to add to his macabre collection. So the next time you see a carnival on the edge of town, its lights flickering like dying embers, beware. And if you hear the sound of laughter, hollow and hungry, echoing through the night, run. Run as fast as you can, and don't look back. For Grimsley the Great is always watching, and his carnival of horrors is always open for business.